Hello and welcome to another episode of Blue Alpine TV. In today's episode, we'll talk about Steve Wozniak's opinion on Ethereum. We'll talk about Fundstrat's Thomas Lee editing and changing his Bitcoin prediction, and we'll talk about Iran and Russia's conversations about cryptocurrency. But let's jump right into this first news story. We're talking about Steve Wozniak. Steve Wozniak is the co-founder of Apple, and he's the more technical co-founder of Apple next to Steve Jobs. And he was at a conference, in tech conference in Vienna, and he actually compared Ethereum to Apple. Apple as a company, as a platform, as kind of a symbol of the development of the last, let's say, 20 years. So starting from around 2000, and he's saying that Ethereum could become just as influential. And he especially liked that Ethereum can do things, so you can program it, you can do kind of smart contracts, all of these things, and that it is a platform that other developers can build upon. And that actually kind of reflects our opinion as well. So that's also why you, in my opinion, cannot compare Bitcoin to Ethereum, because while Bitcoin might be a store of value, a currency, Ethereum is actually a platform that you can build upon, and that, in my opinion, makes it a bit different. Now, that being said, while I think Steve Wozniak's opinion is quite valuable and interesting, and he kind of, the media has tendencies to always ask him about his opinion on technical developments, and I think he is quite a smart man that has a lot of ideas and a lot of thoughts about these interesting technologies. At the same time, and for the podcast listeners, I've marked one sentence where it says, Wozniak said he still owns one Bitcoin and two Ethereum to experiment with paying for different things. And this is quite important. There's this concept from Nassim Taleb called skin in the game. So when you're kind of recommending something or saying that something will become quite big, you are kind of in creating almost hope in certain people. So let's say if he's very bullish on Ethereum and you go out and buy a lot of Ethereum, then Ethereum crashes, he doesn't have to bear the consequences of that. That's also why at Blue Alpine Research, I don't believe in recommending you something. I just try to give you the research as objectively as possible, and you at the end have then to decide whether you want to buy it or not. But nonetheless, I think Ethereum is definitely an interesting platform. But you have to kind of build your, you have to compare all the platforms and then build your own opinion and think about, okay, is Ethereum the one platform or are there others? I've also had a comment recently saying that I've just mentioned Ethereum as a platform and whether I should, whether he should invest or diversify in different platforms. Absolutely. I believe if one of your investment thesis is platforms, then you should diversify in platforms as well. So you shouldn't just invest into Ethereum. Now, next up, we have Fundstrat's Bitcoin price rally prediction fell flat. Tom Lee explains why. So Fundstrat is kind of a research market strategy company, and they are known to make a lot of different predictions, some of them bold and some of them maybe even realistic. And the co-founder, Thomas Lee, actually explained a bit on why he thinks that he kind of predicted Bitcoin to go, I think, to 91,000 or 64,000. So he's kind of revising that statement a bit, and he writes actually why he's doing that. And I think I haven't marked anything for the podcast listeners, but I will share the URL with you. And I believe that you should especially check out his tweets where he kind of explained why after Consensus 2018, the crypto conference in New York, the price didn't rally. So he's saying there had to be three things that needed to be there. One is institutional custody and tools. The second is buy-in by banks, investment managers, and the third is regulatory clarity. And three of three were needed, but we only got progress on one and two. And he has actually a full text explaining all of these things. And I think Thomas Lee and Fundstrat as a really interesting company, and they are doing interesting statements at least. Although, yeah, the predictions might be bold, might be realistic, but I think the media is just picking up those statements, and I think there is a lot of research going into why they think that Bitcoin price should be at a certain stage. So give this a listen and let me know in the comments what you think. And last but not least, we have a story from Iran and Russia. So Iran and Russia discuss transacting in crypto to avoid international sanctions. So what is really interesting is both Iran and Russia, as well as Venezuela and different countries, for example, North Korea as well, are sometimes under the sanctions of the US. That could be for political reasons, that could be for economical reasons. Now, since the kind of creation of cryptocurrency and the hype around cryptocurrency started to come alive, Venezuela has actually started launching their own cryptocurrency called the Petro, and some kind of, let's say, negative opinions said actually, well, Venezuela is just trying to do this in order to circumvent the economy that is kind of forced by the US, or the sanctions that are forced by the US. And while, yeah, this might very well be true, I think it's every country's right to do whatever they please to do. And now, actually, both Mohammad Reza Pourbrahimi is the head of the Iranian Parliamentary Commission for Economic Affairs, as well as Dmitry Mezentsev, he's the chair of the Federation Council Committee on Economic Policy, have met and actually discussed how both countries could kind of create their own cryptocurrencies in order to circumvent those sanctions. Now, I don't want this show kind of to become political in any way. That's not the goal here, but I think it's quite interesting that both of these countries are talking about this. Especially interesting is, of course, that Russia is in there, because a couple of days ago I've mentioned to you that Russia has had meetings with Vitalik Buterin, and Russia is really excited about cryptocurrencies in general. So it could very well be that these meetings are kind of a plan to introduce this national currency. I think they call it even the crypto ruble, and it's set to launch in mid-2019. Now, in my opinion, and I understand why they would do it, to still keep some kind of control, but I still believe these countries should actually adopt the cryptocurrency that are already created. So instead of going and creating their own variation of a cryptocurrency, they should actually use something open source, something that's kind of proven already, and should use that technology in order to kind of go around those sanctions if they want to do that. I mean, it's just, if it's a proven system, it's much better, and it will kind of bring the whole economy and the whole crypto world a bit further ahead. I believe that if a country would support, let's say, a currency like Bitcoin, or a currency like Stellar, or like a platform like Stellar, that could be very like good for both the ecosystem and the country as well, because they would get direct support from the platform's creators. But I understand that if something has been created in a different country, they don't have the full control over the developments of the cryptocurrency. But nonetheless, I think it's really interesting. I mean, in the article, it also says that Turkey, for example, is also looking into that. So you have those kind of different countries that are looking into cryptocurrencies. And I believe this will become a major topic in the coming 2 to 3 years. So keep an eye on that. And with that, we are already at the end of today's episode. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast. I will see you on the Telegram channel, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.